When you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, trouble follows. It wasn't my fault. I was stopped at a traffic light when a stranger pulled up beside me, gesturing for me to lower my window. "You've got a flat tire," he warned. Grateful for the tip, I pulled into a nearby Walmart parking lot and confirmed his observation. A screw was embedded in my tire, slowly leaking air. Frustrated, I decided to buy some tire sealant. Upon my return, I made the mistake of removing the screw myself, causing a rapid leak. After hastily reinserting it, I managed to inflate the tire temporarily at a gas station nearby. With home not far away, I resolved to monitor the tire closely and use the sealant if necessary. Approaching a convenience store 5 miles from home, I noticed the tire was dangerously low. They had no air pump, so I opted to use the sealant. Although it made a mess, it stopped the leak. As I was finishing up, I saw a pickup truck arrive, its oversized tires and height revealing the presence of a rather imposing figure. I recognized the truck. It belonged to someone from Rachel's workplace. To my shock, Rachel herself emerged from the truck, hand in hand with the tall, blond man. She looked happy, laughing with him as they entered the store, oblivious to my presence. The realization hit me like a blow to the stomach. I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, as I watched them disappear inside. Jerry Garner, that was his name, one of Rachel's co-workers. What was she doing with him? Why wasn't she at work? Determined to get answers, I followed them discreetly as they drove back to our house. They parked in the garage, disappearing from view. I waited anxiously, torn between confronting them and the worry over my tire. After what felt like an eternity, they finally left. Despite my efforts to remain unnoticed, I feared they might have seen me. Rachel sat close to him in the truck, engrossed in each other. The betrayal was palpable, leaving me stunned and unsure of what to do next. Rachel wouldn't be off work until 5, and it was only 2:30. I figured I had plenty of time. First, I needed to go inside and investigate. I had to pick up Toby at 4, and I had no clue what I was going to tell her. Toby, my 15-year-old daughter, mustn't find out anything too unsettling. I couldn't imagine what I might uncover inside, but I hoped for some clarity. Inside the house, everything was eerily quiet. The only sounds were the persistent drip from the faucet in Toby's bathroom and the faint hum of the air conditioner vents. I looked around but found nothing out of place on the main floor. I decided to check upstairs. The bed had been made with fresh sheets. My heart sank. I slumped against the wall and sat on the floor, feeling numb. There seemed to be only one logical explanation. I must have sat there for half an hour, my mind racing in circles. I couldn't grasp any coherent thoughts. I felt disoriented, like I was in a daze. My stomach churned with anxiety, so I went to the kitchen and grabbed a Sprite. Feeling overheated and sweaty, I returned to the bathroom. I rummaged through the vanity for a washcloth, dampened it in the sink, and splashed cold water on my face. It helped a bit. Then something caught my eye. The shower floor was wet. They had taken a shower before leaving together. I stumbled back to the bedroom and sat on the edge of the bed, still in shock, realizing it was where my wife and her lover had just been moments ago. The thought horrified me. I had no idea what to do next. Divorcing Rachel was a given. Beyond that, I was clueless. I didn't know any lawyers, and I had to pick up Toby from school. Toby! What was I going to tell her? As I stumbled out to the car, I felt like I'd been through a whirlwind. My head throbbed, and I looked and felt awful. I wasn't fit to drive, but I couldn't keep Toby waiting. Suddenly, it hit me. Toby was the one stable thing in my life now. My daughter needed me, and I had to focus on her well-being. Whatever decisions I made had to consider her. When I pulled up in the car line at school, I spotted Toby waiting at the doors. She walked toward me, radiant and beautiful, with her mother's dark hair and skin and those incredible hazel eyes that always took my breath away. She was tall like me, all legs and grace. She tossed her backpack in the back seat and slid in beside me, ready to greet me with a kiss. But she froze when she saw my face. "Dad, what's wrong?" Her voice quivered with concern. "Are you okay? Did something happen? Is Mom all right? Please, Dad, tell me." I'm okay, kitten, I reassured her. No one is hurt or sick. I just need to talk to you, Toby. Let's go to the park, and I'll explain everything there. Please don't ask any more questions until we get there, okay? Okay, Dad, she replied hesitantly. But you're scaring me. I know, kitten, but everything will be all right, I said, hoping it was true. It didn't take long to reach the park. Memories flooded my mind, pushing Toby on the swings, sitting with Rachel on the benches, watching her play. Were those happier times all I had left now, memories? We found a bench, and Toby held my hand as we walked, just as she had since she was little. We sat down, and I struggled to find the right words. Just tell me, Dad, she urged. I can handle it. I'm not sure I can, I admitted, but then the words poured out. I told her everything, what I had seen, how I felt. Tears streamed down my face, and Toby held my hand through it all. When I finally ran out of words and emotions, she nestled closer to me. This sounds really bad, Dad, she said softly. We need to go home and talk to Mom about it. Maybe there's an explanation. We can't make decisions until we hear her side. I kissed her forehead, overwhelmed with pride. My daughter was so brave, far braver than I felt. She tugged on my hand, and I asked her, "Want to drive?" Her eyes lit up. She had recently gotten her learner's permit. A flicker of uncertainty passed over her face, but she nodded. She drove carefully home, and as we pulled into the driveway, Rachel's car was in the garage. It was time. Rachel greeted us at the door with hugs and kisses, her demeanor seemingly genuine. Could she really be so composed if she had been cheating? Want takeout tonight? She asked cheerfully. My treat. I think we need to talk first, Mom, Toby said quietly. Rachel's smile faltered. Is everything okay, baby? I'm not sure, Toby replied firmly. Let's talk. We sat down in the living room, Toby and I on the couch, Rachel in her favorite chair. What's going on? She asked, her tone puzzled but not alarmed. How was your day? I began. Rachel looked at me oddly. Just usual, she answered. Busy at work. Why do you ask? Were you at the office all day? Toby interjected. Yes, of course, Rachel replied, confusion creeping into her expression. Why all the questions? What's happening? So, you weren't at home with Jerry Garner this afternoon? I asked directly. Her face drained of color. No, of course not, she denied firmly. Are you accusing me, Oliver? I saw you, I stated flatly. What? You didn't see anything, Rachel stammered, panic evident in her voice. What are you trying to do? Toby, he's lying. I was at the office all day. You can ask Angel. No, Mom, Toby responded firmly. I don't believe he's lying. I think you're the one lying. I won't bother asking Angel, she'd cover for you anyway. I'll call David Jones. He's your boss, right? What's his number? He's gone for the night, Rachel snapped. I'll have him call you tomorrow. What's this all about? Are you trying to trap me? Do you think you can come in here and accuse me of something? What exactly are you implying? I think you've trapped yourself, I interjected, my voice steady. You lied, Rachel. All three of us know it. Why did you lie? I could see Rachel's mind racing. Okay, fine, I was here, she admitted. That's why I didn't want to tell you. I knew you'd interrogate me and try to accuse me. No one's accusing you, Toby asserted sharply. I'm accusing you now. You tried to make me doubt Dad, tried to paint him as a liar to cover your own lie. What are you lying about, Mom? Are you having an affair with that guy? You don't even know him, Rachel deflected. Why do you think he's a bad person? I've met him twice, Toby countered. The way he looks at me makes my skin crawl. But that's not the point. Are you having an affair with him? Rachel's eyes darted between us, looking cornered. I didn't want it to happen like this, she finally confessed. I wasn't prepared. Prepared for what? Toby demanded. I've fallen in love with Jerry, Rachel confessed, glancing at me with regret. I'm sorry, Oliver, it just happened. We work closely together, and he's become like the missing piece of my soul. We've connected in a way I couldn't resist. We're in love. I planned to tell you when the time was right. Once we both finalize our divorces, we intend to get married. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. Toby, everything will be okay. You can still see your dad whenever you want. Jerry has a beautiful place by the lake. He also has a daughter who likes you. We'll be happy. Are you insane? Toby exploded. I'm not going to live with that jerk. You're right, I'll stay with Dad whenever I want because I won't be living with you. How could you? With that, she stormed upstairs and locked her door. Rachel turned to me, trying to reassure herself. She'll come around, she insisted. Jerry is a really good man, Oliver. I think you'll get along with him. I'm sorry, but I have to prioritize my happiness. Jerry makes me happy, and that's what matters most. I stared at her in disbelief. Who was this person standing before me? It felt like she had been replaced by someone else entirely, someone I didn't recognize. I wasn't going to engage in any discussion with someone who seemed so unstable and unpredictable. Whatever, Rachel, I finally said, my voice firm. When are you moving out? Moving out, she responded incredulously. I'm not leaving. I have nowhere else to go. Jerry is married, and we can't do anything until we sort things out with his wife and get our divorces settled. No, you're moving out, I asserted firmly. You have 3 days. Her jaw dropped in disbelief. What the hell are you talking about? You can't just kick me out of my own house. If anyone should leave, it's you. You seem to have forgotten something, I countered. This is my house. I owned it long before I met you. It was fully paid off before we got married. The house isn't a marital asset, it's mine. My name is on the deed, not yours. So yes, you are moving out of my house. Where am I supposed to go? She pleaded. Are you just throwing me out onto the street? I really don't care where, I replied coldly. Maybe you can find a room at the Cheating Slut Motel. Or one of those hourly rate places. Isn't that where cheaters go to do their dirty business? Her eyes welled up with tears. That's really hurtful, Oliver, she whispered. There's no need for name-calling. I didn't intend to fall in love with Jerry, it just happened. We connected, and I couldn't help it. I never wanted to hurt you. Oh, so it was all an accident, then? I retorted. Like tripping and poking your eye out with a stick. Mom always warned me about that. I understand now. Well, accidents happen, right? You're being so sarcastic, she sighed. Why can't you accept that I'm in love with Jerry? Gee, I don't know, Rachel, I said mockingly. Maybe because this morning you told me you loved me. Now suddenly, you're in love with him. It's a bit confusing, don't you think? I do love you, Oliver, she insisted, reaching out to touch my hand. I pulled away. You have 3 days, Rachel, I said firmly. If you're not out by then, I'll have the sheriff remove you and your belongings from the house. Please, Oliver, she pleaded, fear in her eyes. It doesn't have to be like this. We can still be friends. Jerry wants to be your friend too. We have Toby to consider. I love you and I don't want to lose you as a friend. We've been together for so long. I stared at her silently for a moment. All the sadness and heartache seemed to evaporate, replaced by a searing anger. You must be out of your mind, Rachel, I said icily. Friends? With you? With that guy? Not a chance. You should tell him that if he ever sees me, it should be fleeting, right before he runs away as fast as he can. And as for you, you're my enemy now, Rachel. You have 3 days. After that, I never want to see your deceitful self again. Tomorrow morning, I'll speak to a lawyer, and we'll get this divorce finalized as quickly as possible. I turned away from Rachel and headed to the bedroom, ignoring her attempts to engage me with her words. They meant nothing to me anymore. She continued to follow me around, persistently spouting her rhetoric about being friends, even as I moved her belongings into the spare bedroom. The closet was overflowing with her clothes, more than I could carry in one go. I draped armfuls over her arms and carried the rest to the spare room, hanging them in the closet swiftly to avoid her. She stood there, babbling and watching, but when she moved to hang the clothes, I seized the chance to slip away and lock the bedroom door. I heard her footsteps down the hall as she tried the doorknob, then eventually retreated. A few minutes later, Toby texted me. "You okay, Dad?" "Yes, kitten. How about you?" I replied. "Not really, but I'll manage," she responded. "Okay, love you. Text me if you need anything," I assured her. "Take me to school in the morning," she requested. "I don't want to be in the car with her." KK. I climbed into bed, lying there for hours, mulling over my next steps. Eventually, I must have drifted off around 3, only to be woken by my phone alarm. I got up, took a shower, and called my boss to inform him about my divorce and request a few days off. He was understanding and offered his sympathy. Afterward, I made coffee, had a couple of cups, and prepared breakfast for Toby and myself. She came down punctually, looking as beautiful to me as ever, and quickly finished her meal. Rachel entered and poured herself a coffee after a while, attempting to engage us in conversation, but we ignored her. It was time to take Toby to school, and when Rachel asked if she was ready, Toby simply looked at me and asked, "You ready, Dad?" I jingled the keys, and Toby grabbed her backpack. "Okay, you can act like 2-year-olds if it makes you feel good," Rachel muttered as she stalked off to get her purse, shooting us a final glare before leaving. I drove Toby to school, and she kissed me goodbye when she got out. I sat there for a moment, watching her walk inside, my thoughts turning to my friend Dan, who had recently gone through a divorce. I decided to give him a call to inquire about the attorney he had used. Dan didn't recommend his own attorney but suggested his wife's instead. He gave me the attorney's name, and I looked up the number. When I called, a woman answered, and after explaining my situation, she agreed to see me that afternoon. I took care of some financial matters, lowering the credit card limits to prevent any reckless spending. It would cramp my own style too, but I refused to fund Rachel's indiscretions. My meeting with Elizabeth Baxter, however, didn't start off well. She had made assumptions about my motives that I needed to correct before we could proceed. "You need to rethink your assumptions," I asserted. "Rachel has been having an affair with her coworker. He's married, and they plan to divorce their spouses to marry each other." "I apologize," she replied solemnly. "I cannot represent anyone making the decisions you've described. It goes against my principles, and I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror if I did." "I understand," I replied. "We have a daughter. I want to minimize the fallout. Do you think it's possible for me to get custody of her?" "It's possible," Elizabeth said. "In theory, either parent is considered as likely as the other to gain custody. In practice, fathers rarely get custody, especially of female children." "How old is she, and is she likely to want to stay with you?" "She said she did, and she's 15, I explained. "That will weigh heavily in the court's decision," Elizabeth noted. "In this state, children over 14 get to choose, and younger children's wishes are always considered. If she were very young, you wouldn't stand a prayer. Having the primary residence and the fact that a 15-year-old wants to stay with you should be a major part of the custody arrangement. This shouldn't be a problem." "Just do your best," I said. After leaving Elizabeth's office, I drove home, my mind racing with thoughts about what to do next. Whatever action I took had to be legal. Risking jail time would jeopardize any chance of retaining custody of Toby. I needed a careful strategy, something that would expose Rachel's betrayal without backfiring on me. My first step was to inform Jerry's wife, who I suspected was as clueless as I had been. Then I planned to inform Rachel's family and our friends. Her parents loved both Toby and me, so they needed to know. However, I had to figure out the best way to approach them. Creating a social media storm was also on my agenda. I wanted everyone to know the truth. Rachel had a Facebook account that she used for our family. I was familiar with it, having used Messenger frequently. After some internet research, I discovered that Jerry's wife also had a presence online. I took screenshots of pictures and posted on Rachel's Facebook page announcing our divorce and revealing her relationship with Jerry, along with a photo of him. I changed the password and logged out. It felt satisfying. I wondered how long it would take before Rachel's friends and family started reacting, and I hoped Jerry's wife would also get the message. While I felt some guilt about the turmoil this would cause her, I believed she deserved to know the truth. Next, I called my mom. The conversation didn't go well, but she promised to inform my dad and offered her support. Deciding Rachel should be the one to tell her own parents, I held back, not wanting to cause any rifts in their relationship. Besides, I had no idea what I would say to them that wouldn't strain our close bond. Your daughter is a cheating slut certainly wasn't an option. They would likely blame the messenger. Around 2 p.m., Rachel's number flashed on my phone. I answered, bracing myself for her reaction. You're unbelievable. Her opening words gave me a strange mix of satisfaction and frustration. You just couldn't leave it alone, could you? I know you locked me out of Facebook. Take down that post. Jerry's wife doesn't know yet. All my friends are calling me, asking what's going on. My parents know. Oliver, I'm telling you, take it down. No, you don't get to dictate to me, I replied firmly. What? Are you acting like a child? Take it down, Oliver, I mean it. Why should I? I retorted. You should be happy. Let everyone get used to you and your soulmate. Are you embarrassed that people know you cheated, Rachel? I'm not. She trailed off, realizing the futility of her argument. Oliver, please take it down. This isn't how it was supposed to happen. You forfeited the right to dictate how this unfolds when you cheated, I said sternly. Any expectation of consideration, respect, or even politeness went out the window. You're the adversary now, Rachel. Get used to it. I ended the call and my phone buzzed immediately, but I ignored it. It was time to pick up Toby. I updated her on my conversation with Elizabeth Baxter. While she was relieved she'd likely stay with me, she was still troubled. What's wrong with her, Dad? She asked. I love her, but she's always been a bit off. I never felt like she was a real adult, not like you. It's always been like you have 2 kids, her and me. Have you noticed? Not exactly like that, I admitted. She's always been impulsive, but I never expected this. Well, we'll have to deal with it, Toby sighed. Dad, I never want to be alone with that guy in the house. Promise me you'll make sure that doesn't happen. I promise, I assured her. We grabbed pizza on the way home. Just as I was enjoying my second slice, my phone buzzed again. It was Bob, Rachel's father. I wasn't eager for this conversation. I put it on speaker as Toby advised. He didn't waste time. Oliver, I'm not sure what's happening, but Rachel came to us last night, asking if she could stay here. Can you explain? Did you ask her about it? I inquired. She said you kicked her out. I did, but did she explain why? No, she said she would, but she wasn't ready. Are you sure you don't want to hear her side? I asked cautiously. Can't you just tell me? He pressed. Rachel has been having an affair with Jerry Garner, a coworker, I revealed. He's planning to divorce his wife, she was planning to divorce me, and now they're together. What? That's unbelievable, Oliver. How do you know this? I caught them together yesterday, I said flatly. And she confirmed it. Are you sure there's no mistake? He asked, clearly shocked. Toby intervened. Hi, Grandpa. I've been listening. Dad has you on speaker. There's no misunderstanding. I was there when Mom told Dad everything. I'm sorry, Grandpa. I love you. Her voice broke into sobs, and he heard it. When he spoke again, his voice was filled with emotion. Don't cry, love bug. Please, just be strong, okay? I love you too, and so does Grandma. I'll try to talk some sense into your mom. Oliver, you still there? Yes, Bob, I'm here. Don't worry about Toby. You and Grandma will always be her grandparents, no matter what happens. I know you love Rachel, and you'll do what you think is right. I have immense respect for you, more than words can express. I hope you won't hold any ill feelings toward me after all of this. That's never going to happen, he assured me. I'll find out what's going on. Call me if you need anything. It went better than I expected. Life throws challenges, and you deal with them as best you can. There's no need to recount the details of the divorce process. Many people are familiar with it. It was lengthy, painful, and it didn't improve with time. Rachel seemed to have unrealistic expectations. She believed she would gain custody of Toby. That didn't come to pass. Ms. Baxter proved to be as competent as I had hoped. I was granted full custody based on Toby's wish to live with me. After a private meeting with Toby, the judge decided Rachel could have unrestricted visitation rights, but not unsupervised visits involving Jerry Garner. As it turned out, that became irrelevant. Jerry's wife divorced him, and his grandiose plans seemed to vanish quickly. 2 weeks after I discovered their affair, he moved on to someone new. It took 7 months for the divorce to be finalized. Rachel had a change of heart. At our second court appearance, I was surprised when she requested counseling, and the judge ordered it despite objections from me and Ms. Baxter. We were scheduled for 8 to 10 sessions. We ended up with a quirky old counselor. In our first session, he asked us to outline our goals. Rachel's were elaborate and complex, centered around her belief that pursuing her happiness was paramount and that she never intended harm, only happiness. Mine was more straightforward. "What are your goals for these sessions, Mr. Barryman?" he inquired. "My goal is to get through them," I replied bluntly. Our counselor frowned. "Mr. Barryman, do you really have no interest in addressing the issues that led to the breakdown of your marriage?" "I'm sorry, Mr. Rodman, but it wasn't my issues that brought us here. And honestly, I have no desire to work on them. I'm content with who I am and have no intention of changing." Rachel was just as shocked as Mr. Pathguide, but she didn't hesitate to jump in. "Oliver, how do you expect us to rebuild if you won't even discuss this?" "I don't," I replied flatly. "Let me be clear. I couldn't care less about rebuilding or working on issues. I'm only here because of a court order. I'll do what's required to satisfy that order, then we'll proceed with the divorce. That's my plan. Do you realize that if I report to the judge that you're not cooperating, you could be held in contempt?" Mr. Pathguide warned. "I'm not aware of that," I retorted. "Are you suggesting you'd lie to the judge? These sessions are recorded. My lawyer would be happy to subpoena the recordings to expose any falsehoods. I'm here and doing what you've asked. You asked for my goals, and I've told you. So, I am cooperating." He flushed slightly. "The judge likely expected both of you to attempt to resolve your issues," he insisted. "I'm not accountable for the judge's expectations," I stated firmly. "I'm only responsible for my own." He made it difficult. Assigning homework that involved spending significant time with Rachel, she worked tirelessly to wear me down. "What would it take for you to call off the divorce and try to work this out?" she pressed. "An act of God," I replied bluntly. She waited, expecting elaboration, but I remained silent. "What do you mean by an act of God?" she finally prodded. "Well, unless you can somehow turn back time and undo your affair with Jerry, I don't see how," I said. "That's a power only God possesses. Unless, of course, you've developed some extraordinary abilities you haven't mentioned, Rachel. Besides your apparent talent for attracting other men." We endured the dreary exercises and mindless mantra session after session until finally they concluded. We returned to court, where the judge inquired about our progress. "Your Honor, it's clear my client has no intention of remaining married," Elizabeth Baxter stated firmly. "We request the divorce be granted swiftly. My client and his daughter have endured this process long enough." Apparently in agreement, the judge issued the decree 10 days later. Toby saw her mother regularly, enjoying time with her grandparents. Occasionally, Rachel would plan activities Toby agreed to participate in, but it was never the same. Toby spent more time with her friends, especially Sabrina, a petite blonde who practically lived with us. She was as cute as a kitten and as sweet as honey. I welcomed her presence, and they began including me in some of their activities. One of their favorite activities was water skiing. With our boat ready, most Saturdays during summer vacation were spent at nearby lakes. On a Monday, they proposed a weekend getaway to the lake in our RV until Sunday evening. With no busy social calendar, I thought it was a great idea. Toby and Sabrina spent the week planning, and we packed everything they needed by Thursday. Friday afternoon, a new red Jeep Cherokee arrived in our driveway, and Sabrina jumped out. Another woman, nearly identical to Sabrina, emerged from the driver's side. Toby rushed over to hug this unknown woman enthusiastically. She and Sabrina guided the nervous newcomer to me. "Dad," Toby introduced, "this is Julie. She's Sab's mom, and I know you haven't met her yet." Julie extended her hand warmly. "Hello, Oliver. The girls have told me so much about you. Thank you for inviting me to join you this weekend. Honestly, I've been a bit jealous that they spend so much time with you instead of me." She grinned mischievously, and I immediately understood where her charming daughter got her personality. I glanced at Toby, who gave me a stern look. My knees felt weak, and I knew when to give in. The feeling intensified as I looked at Sabrina, who raised an eyebrow at me. "We're going to have a great time," I assured Julie, regaining my composure. "We always do." Julie caught on quickly. She glanced between me and the girls, then back at me. "Oh, my God," she exclaimed. "You didn't know, did you? Girls!" Before she could say another word, she was engulfed in a flurry of hugs, kisses, and assurances. "Please, Mom, don't worry. We're going to have so much fun," Sabrina reassured. "It's okay, Julie. Dad is going to adore you as much as I do, and he's a wonderful guy," Toby chimed in. "Just look how he's going along with this." Julie extricated herself from their embrace and assessed them both. "You two go sit on the porch. I need to talk to Oliver," she directed firmly. They hesitated, but Julie's tone left no room for argument. "Now." They obeyed, scurrying away. Julie turned to me with embarrassment evident on her face. "I am so sorry, Oliver. I had no idea," she apologized. "I'm taking Sabs and leaving. She's grounded for a month. God, this is so embarrassing." She looked so small and mortified that I stepped forward and hugged her. At first, she tensed, but then she relaxed into the embrace. "Yes, it's embarrassing," I agreed softly. "They're mischievous, but deep down, you and I both know they mean no harm. Let me guess, you're not married?" Julie chuckled, looking up at me with a sparkle in her eyes. "No, I'm not." "Is that what you think this is about?" "I'm pretty sure," I replied. "Here's the deal. You're all packed, your weekend is clear, the weather at the lake will be perfect, and I'm not a bad guy, as you've seen with Toby. Let's go along with this. It might be fun. We could even play along and tease them a little. What do you say?" She stepped back, glanced at the expectant faces of the girls, and sighed. "Yeah, let's do it." I gave them a thumbs up, and they eagerly joined us. I heard Toby exclaim excitedly, "Yeet." I stopped them and pulled each one close under my arm. "Girls, that wasn't very nice," I scolded gently. Sabs looked up at me and broke into laughter, mimicking Skeletor's voice, "I am not nice." That cracked us all up, and I couldn't help but smile. They were too cute and innocent for me to stay upset. "We understand what you were trying to do," I said, trying to sound serious. "But you can't just go around meddling in other people's lives." "But I love Jules, and I didn't know how else to get you to meet her," Toby protested. "You could have just told me," I replied. Toby looked a bit crestfallen. "It's okay, kitten. Just don't do it again," I reassured her. She perked up immediately. Sabs tugged at my arm. "Let's go." I can't wait. This is going to be awesome, Oliver, you'll see. Julie laughed. I think that's supposed to be the ultimate in really cool, Oliver. But she's right. We're wasting daylight. We grabbed 2 bags from her Jeep and climbed into the RV. With the boat hitched and a stop for propane, we were on our way. The lake was just half an hour away, and Julie sat up front with me. The girls blasted some terrible music through their Bluetooth connections, and we started getting to know each other. Julie owned her own insurance company and did financial planning. I found myself captivated by her as we chatted. She had a youthful appearance, probably 3 years younger than me, standing barely 5 feet tall with long blonde hair, a tan complexion, and striking brown eyes. Her features were delicate yet distinctive, framed by a heart-shaped face with a widow's peak. She wore jeans and a button-up top that highlighted her slender figure. I made sure not to stare too much, wanting to be respectful until we reached the lake. At the lake, we secured a spot to park the boat and RV. They shooed me out while they changed, and I hooked up the water in the meantime. Once they were ready, I changed into swim trunks and a t-shirt. We packed a cooler full of drinks and set off on the boat. After navigating the no-wake zone, I opened up the throttle, cruising several miles down the lake until the girls were eager to ski. They shed their long t-shirts, revealing their natural grace and beauty. Julie, however, was a sight to behold. There was nothing awkward about her. She was petite yet undeniably womanly. When she turned to watch the girls from behind, I was captivated. Her bikini, though not cutting edge, strained slightly to contain a stunning derriere, small, round, firm, and prominently displayed like a shelf. She caught me staring and responded with a playful wink and smile, which eased my embarrassment. Her breasts were small but perfectly proportioned on her frame, complementing her overall perfection in miniature. "Done?" she asked, her smile disarming. Even her teeth were flawless. I chuckled. "For now. You know how you look, Julie. I'm only human." She joined me, finding a seat where she could chat and keep an eye on the girls. We spent 3 exhilarating hours skiing. Julie turned out to be quite skilled, taking her turns driving the boat expertly. While I couldn't match her or the girls in skill, physics were against me, I held my own and enjoyed every moment of it. We returned to the campsite and the girls wrapped themselves in towels. Although the RV had a functional kitchen, they insisted on cooking outside. We set up the camp stove and I started a fire in the grill provided at the site. While I grilled bratwursts, they busied themselves cutting up and frying potatoes and onions, and heating up cans of pork and beans. Despite having prepared some meals at home, our first night's camp cooking was surprisingly delicious. We gathered around the picnic table provided at the site and quickly became comfortable, as if we had known each other for years. Julie became Jules, a name the girls affectionately used for her, and she didn't seem to mind at all. She started calling me Ollie. The girls hinted several times that Jules wasn't married, so I finally asked her about it. "I mean, you're gorgeous, funny, smart, and you have your own business. Why hasn't some lucky guy swept you off your feet?" She grew quiet for a moment, contemplating her answer. "Well, the main reason is Sabrina," she finally said. "I was young and foolish, Ollie. I was a senior in college and thought I had found the love of my life. Then, a week before graduation, I found out I was pregnant. At first, I wasn't too upset because we had talked about getting married right after graduation. I guess that plan didn't work out, since you're talking about it in the past tense," I observed. "No, it didn't," she admitted. 3 days after I told Brad, I found out he had been cheating on me for a month. I broke up with him and never looked back. When Sabs was born, I was too busy being a mom to even think about dating. Later on, when I finally had the chance to date, I realized I had this amazing gift from God in my life, and I couldn't make any decisions without considering her. "I understand completely," I said, empathizing with her situation. "Toby means the world to me. As long as I have her, she comes first. She's been my rock through these past 18 months. Julie placed her hand gently on my arm. "I know," she said softly. "She confides in Sabs and me about everything. I'm so sorry, Ollie." Yeah, life can be tough sometimes, I sighed, feeling a connection with Julie over our shared experiences. Glancing up, we noticed two pairs of loving and approving eyes watching us. The girls were deep in conversation, seated in camp chairs under the shade of the awning. I love your daughter, I told Julie sincerely. It feels like she's almost mine, with how much time she spends with us. She loves you, too, Julie replied, her voice filled with emotion. The other day, she told me you're like the father she never had. Tears welled up in her eyes and one rolled down her cheek. I gently brushed away the tear with the back of my finger. She's an amazing girl, I said softly. And her mom is clearly a special lady to have raised such an incredible daughter. You've been incredibly brave doing it all on your own. She smiled, her eyes brimming with happiness, stood up, kissed my cheek, and went over to join the girls. The weekend was fantastic, and as Jules was preparing to leave, I walked up to her car and lightly tapped on her window. Jules, would you consider going out with me next Friday? I asked. Sab squealed with delight, and Jules flashed me a smile. What time? 6 o'clock? I suggested. We'll have dinner and do something fun afterward. Oh, and could Toby stay with Sabs while we're out? Sounds perfect, and of course, she replied with another kiss on my cheek before driving off. Toby was waiting for me in the entryway when I returned. Well, she asked eagerly. Did you ask her out? Did you kiss her? I hugged her and playfully swatted her bottom. Yes, I did, and that's none of your business. She squealed in delight, echoing Sab's earlier reaction. I knew it. She's perfect for you, Dad. I really love her, and Sabs feels like my sister. I shrugged. Let's see how it goes, Toby. Relationships can't be forced. Stop trying to play matchmaker. She nestled her face against my chest. I know, Dad, but if I hadn't nudged you a bit, you'd probably just keep loving only me forever. Not that I mind being the only woman in your life. I chuckled. You'll always have a special place in my heart that no one else can fill. You're my baby, and that'll never change. She purred contentedly and then went off to occupy herself with Toby things. Our first date went smoothly. I took Jules to play racquetball. She was new to the sport but had a background in tennis, so she quickly adapted. Her natural athleticism shone through. She was fast and agile, which gave her an edge on the court, especially with her small frame. After we finished playing, we cooled down at a table outside the courts, sipping drinks and resting. Jules suggested snapping a photo together with our rackets and goggles, which we promptly sent to the girls. They responded almost immediately, and it added to our growing collection of memories. Later, after showering, I took her out for a nice Italian meal where we indulged ourselves. As we finished our wine, Jules sat next to me in the booth, and naturally, I put my arm around her. She leaned against me, smiling up warmly, and I couldn't help but admire how cute she looked, something that I suspected would never change as she aged. When we pulled up at her house later that evening, she turned to me with an expectant look. I could tell she wanted me to kiss her, so I leaned in and kissed her. It was a long, delicious kiss. Her lips were soft and tasted of wine and cherry chapstick. As we parted, I noticed movement behind the curtains. Looks like we have an audience, I remarked. She giggled, sounding remarkably like her daughter, or perhaps it was the other way around. I'm not surprised. You know they've been trying to set us up, right? Does it bother you? I asked. She blushed slightly. No, I like everything I know about you, Ollie. I hear you're dating one of Toby's friend's mother, Rachel said as she leaned against the car door, blocking my path. I met her gaze evenly. Yes, I am. She looked at me for a moment, her expression unreadable. What does she have that I don't? I sighed inwardly, feeling a twinge of irritation. Rachel, it's not about what she has or doesn't have. It's about moving on with my life. You know she's just using you, right? She's probably after your money, Rachel retorted, her voice tinged with bitterness. I kept my cool. That's not true, Rachel. Jules is a genuine person, and she cares about me and Toby. She shook her head. You're making a mistake, Oliver. She's not the woman you think she is. I appreciate your concern, Rachel, but this is my personal life, I replied firmly. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to get going. She stepped aside reluctantly, glaring at me as I started the car and drove off. Her presence continued to be an unwelcome reminder of the past, but I was determined not to let it affect my happiness with Jules and Toby. Life with Jules and Toby was fulfilling. We continued to grow closer, enjoying our outings and family dinners. Jules had become an integral part of our lives, and her presence brought a sense of warmth and companionship that I cherished. As for Rachel, I maintained my distance, unwilling to engage with her attempts to disrupt my newfound happiness. Is it true? Rachel demanded as soon as I walked through the door. That's my business, I replied sharply. The hell it is, she snapped back. I'm your wife, I have a right to know. You have shit for rights, I shot back, feeling my anger rise. You aren't my wife anymore. You found your soulmate, remember? Then we got divorced. My life is no longer your concern, and yours is none of mine. Stay out of my business, Rachel. Don't stick your nose in mine again. I stormed out, seething with frustration. Rachel's persistent interference had become unbearable. I vented to Toby about the encounter, and she shared my anger. From then on, Toby's grandparents picked her up directly from our house, putting an end to Rachel's unwelcome presence at our doorstep. On the 7-month anniversary of our lake trip, I took Jules out to celebrate. We enjoyed a nice dinner at a restaurant followed by a visit to a club. Jules, typically moderate with alcohol, surprised me by ordering a second drink. You're going wild tonight, huh? I teased, raising an eyebrow. She chuckled. Just a little. Do you really think I'm perfect, Ollie? You're perfect to me, always have been, I replied sincerely. Then why haven't you invited me to spend the night, she asked, catching me off guard. I paused, collecting my thoughts. I've thought about it a lot, Jules. Since the day on the boat when I first saw you in that bikini. But I didn't want to rush things. I didn't want to scare you off. You won't scare me off, she assured me. I told the girls not to wait up tonight. Really? I said, feeling a surge of excitement. Well then, what are we still doing here? Let's get out of this place. Do you want to spend the night with me? She blushed, taking my hand as I led her out. More than anything else in the world right now, she admitted softly. She stayed close to me, her head on my shoulder as we walked to the car and then into the house. At the foot of the bed, I turned her around and kissed her passionately. It was an incredible moment, and our kiss seemed to last forever. When we finally broke apart, she looked up at me with warmth and vulnerability in her eyes. Make love to me, Oliver, she whispered, her arms around my neck. I'm kind of afraid. Don't be, I reassured her tenderly. I love you, Julie Barnes. You know that, right? I thought you did, she murmured softly. I needed to hear it. I love you too, Oliver. I held her close, sliding the zipper of her little blue dress down with deliberate slowness, savoring the sensation of her skin under my fingertips. Goosebumps rose along her spine as I traced the small of her back, pausing to stroke the delicate curve above her hips. With gentle care, I eased the dress off her shoulders, revealing her flawless form. She didn't wear a bra, her pert breasts perfectly proportioned to her petite frame, topped with erect nipples that betrayed her arousal. Her sun-kissed skin hinted at sunbathing topless, adding to her allure. Turning her around, I sat her on the bed, admiring her like a prized work of art. She wore delicate blue lace panties that emphasized her erotic charm. Drawing her close, I buried my face against her firm belly, relishing the sensation of her smooth skin and the curve of her exquisite buttocks in my hands. She giggled playfully as I explored, her flesh yielding yet resilient under my touch. I shed my clothes eagerly, impatient to feel her skin against mine. Stripped down to my briefs, I lifted her effortlessly, marveling at her lightness, and placed her gently on the bed. Climbing in beside her, our bodies intertwined with an urgency born of desire. My hand slipped beneath her panties, encountering a soft tuft of curls and the heat of her arousal. A gasp escaped her lips as I explored, prompting me to remove her panties entirely. She lay before me like a vision, her hair fanned out like a halo against the pillow. I leaned closer, ready to taste, but she stopped me. "Later, Oliver," she murmured urgently. "I'm ready, and I need you now." I complied eagerly, discarding my briefs as she grasped my cock with a mixture of excitement and anticipation. I moved over her, mindful of her smaller frame, and she marveled at my size in her hands. "Go slow, baby," she pleaded, her voice husky with need. "I've never had anything like this." I hovered above her, inching forward with care to ensure her comfort. As I entered her, she gasped and tensed. "Wait," she squeaked, her body adjusting to the intimate intrusion. I paused, allowing her time to relax. Gradually, I moved again, slowly filling her with each gentle thrust. It took time for her to accommodate me fully, our bodies finding a rhythm that melded our desires into a shared passion. "God, Ollie, I feel stuffed," she groaned. "Damn, you've got a big dick." I chuckled inwardly at her playful comment, knowing I wasn't endowed like a porn star, but feeling appreciated nonetheless. She was petite, but every part of her fit perfectly with mine. Her tightness and natural lubrication made our movements smooth and pleasurable. With each thrust, she emitted husky moans, her body responding eagerly to our intimate dance. As our pace quickened, her sounds of pleasure grew louder, her athletic energy driving our connection to new heights. It was a passionate encounter, each moment fueled by her enthusiasm and my own escalating desire. Sensing our mutual climax approaching, I held on, knowing I wouldn't last much longer with her. Just as I reached my limit, I felt her body tense beneath me, her release echoing mine. She arched into me with a breathless cry of passion, our shared ecstasy washing over us. We slowed our movements, catching our breath as we remained intertwined. Leaning on my elbows over her, we kissed tenderly, expressing our love in whispers. Even after our initial climax, I stayed aroused, feeling the contractions of her body around me. We continued our lovemaking, a seamless continuation of our shared passion. Exhaustion eventually gave way to sleep, but not before making love twice more during the night, each time driven by mutual desire. I woke the next morning to find her nestled against me, her hair cascading over us like a protective veil. Watching her sleep, I couldn't help but smile at the sight of this angelic woman in my arms. When she stirred awake, she snuggled closer, murmuring contentedly. "I belong here, Ollie," she whispered. "I know," I replied softly. "Would you like to wake up here every morning?" Her eyes met mine with a mix of surprise and joy. "You mean, like live together?" "No, sweetheart." "Well, yes, but I mean, will you marry me, Julie Barnes?" She lifted her left hand between us, wiggling her fingers playfully. "Oh," she teased. "Something seems to be missing." "Hold that thought," I grinned, getting out of bed. "I'll hold the thought," she chuckled, "but I really need to pee." I laughed and gave her a playful swat on the butt before she darted off, a delightful vision of naked vitality. Heading downstairs to my office, I retrieved what I had prepared earlier from my safe. Returning to our room, I found her curled up under the covers like a cozy nest. Climbing in beside her, I took her hand in mine, meeting her gaze filled with love. "Julie, will you marry me?" I slipped the ring onto her finger, knowing we'd have to resize it. She admired the ring, tracing its delicate lines with her fingertip. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "It looks old. Where did you get it? When did you get it?" "Remember the auction I mentioned?" I explained. "It was about a month ago. They were selling off an estate." "Yes, I remember," she nodded eagerly. "You went there?" "I did," I confirmed with a smile. "I saw this ring in the catalog and went with the intention of buying it. It's from England, made around 1810 for the Duchess of Avon. It has quite a history. Do you like it?" "I love it," she beamed, her eyes shining. "It's the most beautiful ring I've ever seen." "So, what's your answer?" I asked teasingly. She blinked, realization dawning. "Oh. Yes, Oliver. Yes, I'll marry you. Oh my God, yes." I laughed joyously, pulling her into a tight embrace. "We need to snap the girls," she added excitedly, already thinking ahead. "Absolutely," I agreed, feeling elated beyond words as we embarked on this new chapter together. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the channel not to miss new videos.